Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Heather Frierson, and I'm your host of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have Matt Cauble, co-founder of Kin Euphorics. And he's going to be sharing all about his journey to business ownership, the challenges, best practices, and really just share a sneak peek of what it's like to own and found and launch a business like Kin Euphorics. So if this is your first time today, be sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. Well, Matt, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. So happy to be here, Heather.
I came this close to saying Ken because of Ken Euphorics.
Funny, that's my dad's name.
Oh, is it really?
It is. So when I told him the name of Kin, he was like, "Did you name it after me?" And I said, "No, no, Kin, like family."
I love it. Well, why don't you set the stage for us and tell us a little bit about a background about you and your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, my name's Matt Cauble, and I co-founded Kin Euphorics back in 2017 with my partner Jen Batchelor. She, we first introduced each other. We got on the topic of how people want to be healthier, and especially millennials living in the city. We were going to yoga classes, doing all these health tours, going to spas, and at the end of the day, she noticed people were still drinking wine. And something that they always tell you is cut back on drinking, right? When you go to the
Mm-hmm.
doctor, the number one thing they recommend. So she really saw this opportunity of like, well, you can't just tell people to stop, right? You have to get people something that's more exciting, and you have to, get people inspired. So that's why I ultimately joined forces with her. Before that, I started a company called Soylent. And Soylent is this meal replacement drink that came out in 2013. My co-founder created it in our apartment in San Francisco, and when he released it, we never intended it to be a business, but ultimately so many people wanted it that we turned it into one.
That's
And
amazing.
we became the largest crowdfunding, food crowdfunding of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, we became the fastest growing food company ever, all online back in 2014, 2013. So I kind of fell into this from tech because I was working on a satellite startup,
Wow.
and we ended up turning it into a food company. And then since then, this is the business I've been running. This is the business I've been operating in, is like food,
Hmm.
health, wellness.
Yeah.
Ultimately, my ambition and interest is in what makes people healthier, what makes people live better
Mm.
lives. I'm all about enabling people to become their best self. And how do we do that? Through the food and the drinks that, we put in our bodies. So, we started Kin in 2018, 2017, and we launched our first product in 2019, and we've just been trying to figure it out and go since then. But yeah, excited to be here today, talk to you, and share more about this story.
Right when you said at the beginning where your partner Jen said people are wanting to be healthy, but they still have a glass of wine at night. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, thanks for saying that.
It's so personal, right? I mean, I felt the
Yes,
same way. I'm like, well, I'm about to go have some craft beer, so.
I know. So then I'm your audience,
Yeah,
obviously. Tell me
yeah.
more about how it was created and what are the drink options?
Yeah. So after we talked about that idea and noticed the problem in the market and the opportunity, we got to thinking. We didn't know what to do, right?
Mhm.
I know I can make drinks, but we didn't know what that drink was. So it took us a bit of time to figure out exactly what it could be. The immediate thing that people think about is like, let's just make something that tastes like an alcoholic drink. Let's just make something
Mhm.
that tastes like a rosé or a beer. Um, but if you think about that for a second, you're like, well, that's no fun. Like, it's not like I love the taste of rosé or beer. It's more like the combination of the feeling and the flavor is
Mm,
what I like. So we
mm,
realized the importance of that feeling. So we got into the product development, just exploring all these different herbs, all these different vitamins, nootropics, things that people were using to hack their mind for focus, for improved mood, taking it as pills and powders and saying, let's turn it into a drink that's
mm.
sophisticated and can sit at the bar.
Wow.
The idea being like, hey, if you're taking these vitamins alone, wouldn't it be better if you could actually take them with your friends in a really fun setting? And turning that concept of alcohol, which is let's imbibe this drink together to have fun. Well, what if we imbibe this drink that's actually good for you to have fun?
Mm.
So that was our philosophy. That's what we came to. We spent a lot of time asking each other, how do you feel? How do you feel? And uh, so we gained like major empathy, right? We just did this huge empathy.
Okay, huge empathy. You're someone that can carry a really I can't even get the word out. Conversation where you are just connecting very well with the person who's telling you
So
all about their
deeply,
feels
yeah.
so
Exactly, because
deeply.
I had to, right? It was just part of the job. Learning on the job was let me understand how you feel right now.
Yeah. What are you thinking now?
Exactly, exactly. So very intimate, right? Very like and it's good because I think what that brought us to was this brand that ultimately is personifying that idea of empathy and connectivity and
Mhm.
bringing people together. I mean, literally the name kin, right? Let's make the world kin. And we can do that with drinks. We have a big philosophy around how important drinks are in culture. Um, and we want to do that with what we're building here.
Yeah. I imagine that even though this might have been really fun at the process of like building drinks and you're having these incredible conversations, you're building community probably right in the
Yeah,
middle of it.
of course.
There were some major challenges.
Oh yeah. I mean,
What were some of those challenges?
well, when you're dealing with liquid, and you're dealing with a lot of potential problems, and so just making liquid, right? You could have one of many things go wrong, right? You could have, microbiology activity in your water. You could have, just glass breaking. You could have ingredients not shipping, things like that. Fortunately, I had experience, so I could avoid those potholes.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the main issue that we have is early on is like we had this promise, and the promise was this is going to be a replacement for alcohol from taste, experience, brand, everything. Like we were promising the world to everyone. And we did that. We set our bar really high because we believed that we could achieve it. We didn't know exactly how we could achieve it. And a lot of people in the early days kind of misunderstood us, and they thought we were telling them like this is a one for one replacement for alcohol. So like you
Oh,
drink this and you'll feel exactly like a glass of wine. And so we had to be like, well, that's not exactly what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is create the intention for you so that you can say, I want to go have fun, right? And instead of turning to a glass of whatever vodka or tequila, you can turn to a high road, and you can get a high road with a tonic. And you'll find that you don't feel the same as this, but you'll notice that you're dancing more, you're laughing more, you're more
mm.
open. So it's accomplishing your end result, but it's not going to feel the same necessarily because we're
So
doing
you
it.
can still maybe do more responsible things like
Yeah,
driving or yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like what we realize is people use alcohol for like 100 different things, right? Like
Mm.
they use it for sleep, they use it to be more talkative, they use it to be more open, to more confident, like all these things, right? Alcohol doesn't really do any of that. Like it
Okay.
just sort of numbs you, it turns you off. So then you
Mm.
can, if you decide to be more a certain way. But what we realized is you can actually put things into a drink that do accomplish those things. So that's one difference, right? Is like it's not like alcohol where it's a cure all, let's call it,
Mhm.
um, or a sick all, if you want to say. But
Yeah.
it,
Like,
can't say cure.
I mean, yeah.
They would love to be able to call it like that. Every
Yeah.
alcohol company just
Yeah.
wrote that down, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Why
Like,
would they have
great.
it?"
New slogan.
Yeah, exactly right. So no, but there is actually specific things that you can do to or drink and do in order to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. So we have that sleep drink that actually is good at the end of the
Okay.
day to help you wind down. We have that, morning mimosa experience that's for the brunch hour that is not only making you open up a bit, but is actually giving you vitamin C and collagen to make you healthier and beautiful from the
Mhm.
inside, right?
Love that.
Who doesn't?
I know. So I'm just like, even when you said sleepy time, I'm a big sleepy time, bedtime tea drinker.
Yeah.
So just, and for me, it's a wind down.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost that signal to me. It's time to relax, take the to-do list off, and even just sit and watch a show with my kids.
Yeah. Of
So
course.
what, and I know there's herbs in it. So
Yeah.
tell us about Kin Euphoric. How to say it one more time? Kin Euphorics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I
Kin
do it?
Euphorics. You did it.
I'm going to be a brand ambassador here.
You got it. Yeah.
And what's in it to make it? You said vitamin C, collagen, those are of course a specific
Yeah.
drink, but it's all natural. That, I guess that's the question I'm asking. Everything in there is all natural?
So what we work with is we realized when we sat down is, okay, if our feeling first, if we're a feeling first brand, and that's what we tell everyone,
Mm-hmm.
feeling first. You have alcohol, what we call simulated alcohol or non-alcohol, which is like this thing is trying to just be whiskey without booze, but it's not giving you a feeling. So we are a feeling first brand. And when we approach that from that perspective, we're like, we just need to find what's available to us to help people feel the way we're trying to make them feel. So when we went and created our sleepy time, which we call Dreamlight or Lightwave. So Lightwave is our canned product that's on the shelf at HEB. Or we have Dreamlight, which is our bottle product that we sell online that's more concentrated. We think about it like, okay, we need to establish a sleep feeling. The bottle is more intense. So the bottle is going to have the reishi mushroom, which is, great for sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have L-theanine, which is great to calm down and relax. And then it's going to have, the bottle has some melatonin. Now we dose that melatonin with a sleep expert. So we're like, look,
Mm.
we know people are taking too much melatonin. What's the right dosage here? And it
Why
turns
you
out,
keep convicting me? I don't understand why you keep coming after me like this, Matt.
how do I know you so well? It's amazing,
I
right? I'm like a
know.
mind reader.
Yeah.
It's almost like I spent all my time asking people how they feel and
I
understanding where they
know.
come from.
Yes.
So I mean, I take that as a compliment because yeah, we designed this so that people could, we know what people's problems are because we asked,
Mm-hmm.
right? We start
Mm-hmm.
we started with the customer and like, what do you want to feel?
Yeah.
And let's make you something that works. So when we thought about sleep, that's what we did, right? We're like, let's go
Yeah.
talk to a sleep expert. Let's create the thing that's actually
Mm-hmm.
scientific, but let's also look at the herbology and let's look at the botanics that are available to us to deliver on the effect that we're trying to achieve. And what you have with Dreamlight is it's the most effective sleep drink on the market. I take it all the time and it helps me sleep, boom, 7 hours, no wake ups in the middle. And then you have Lightwave, which is more of like the canned experience. We consider that kind of like, the six pack at the end of the day experience where someone's just
Mm-hmm.
looking to wind down. Maybe you're not trying to fall asleep, but you wouldn't mind feeling a little bit, chill.
Yeah.
Um, so we took out the melatonin because like you're not necessarily going to sleep with Lightwave. You're more just trying to relax, but it still
Okay.
delivers on that other part of the stack that causes that body, relaxation, the mind to
Mm-hmm.
calm down and things like that.
That is so cool. I mean, so you mentioned HEB.
Yeah.
Where else can we find you guys?
Oh boy, Sprouts and HEB are going to be our biggest, carriers
Yeah.
here in Texas. We're working on getting into the natural grocer chain. We'd love to be in Fresh Plus. We're at, bodegas smattered across the state here and there.
Yeah.
But our dream is to get into Whole Foods. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's who we're pushing to get into this year, and we know we do a lot there. Oh, we're in Target, of course.
Of
Target,
course. I mean, that makes you legitimate. I'm going to say that right now.
yeah.
So tell us about that experience because you have, a CPG, if you will, and it's really hard. There's a lot of entrepreneurs probably listening right now that are creating a product, and their dream is also to get into a well-known grocer.
Yeah.
What were some of the things you did and had learned
It's
along the way?
Yeah, I'll just say it's hard. I mean, that is just the reality is, look, there's tens of thousands of products that are trying to get in these
Hmm.
doors every day.
Hmm.
So if you've done it or if you can do it, kudos to you. You've made it. And if you haven't done it, don't worry because you still the whether you're in or not, it's still the same problem. You have to go and develop something for customers that they love, right? You just have to
Hmm.
remember that. So anytime you're thinking about where you want to be, you got to start from the place of create something that people actually want and focus on that, and then success will certainly follow. So when we got to Target, Target was challenging to get to, and we kind of lucked out, to be honest, because they decided that they wanted to launch a non-out category set inside of their store. There's only like 8 or 9 legitimate, non-alc products out there.
Hmm.
So we could get in sort of by default. And we
Okay.
we kind of did. We sort of got in just like because we were part of this group. We certainly fought for our position. We were in these meetings. We were like, no, you need to include us. But we were able to get in because, this new category they're opening up, they needed to fill it. And so we took that opportunity and we've just like ran with it and done everything we can to be the top seller in Target in the category.
Yeah. You mentioned how before Kin Euphonics, you were in another industry and did the crowdfunding.
Mhm.
How did you fund for this product? Was it investors? Did you do another crowdfunding campaign?
We looked at the crowdfunding. So crowdfunding is really tricky. With crowdfunding, you need to have an established community before you actually do it.
Mm,
So there's a chicken and an egg there, where
mm.
it's like, if you haven't sold the product yet, how do you get people to get it?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and for our last products, for the last product I did, Soylent, it was just the nature of how my co-founder, my business partner, launched the message. He
Hmm.
created a blog post, it went viral, people were reading it, tens of that, like he was getting like millions of views on his blog like
Wow.
monthly. So
Wow.
when we launched our crowdfunding, then it was because we had an audience already, like a massive
Hmm.
audience of
Hmm.
interest. When we did Kin, we didn't really have that. We had been focused on formulation, we've been focused on customer and community development locally. So we ended up raising money from venture capitalists in order to
Hmm.
fund. We did some
Yeah.
self-funding in order at the beginning to get initial concepts. And once we
Yeah.
had, a formula that we thought we could wow people with, we took that wowing formula and took it to investors and said, hey, what do you think about this? Given our track record, given where we think the market is
Mm.
going, do you want to invest? And a lot of investors love the fact that we had a product that they could enjoy, that we had a
Hmm.
brand. We worked on our brand as well and showed them, look
Mm.
at how beautiful this is. And then, we focused on the future and saying, hey, this is where people are going. This is where our demographic is going. They want to live a healthier life. We see that alcohol sales are going to start
Mm.
declining anytime now, and there's going to be a hole that needs to get filled. And sure enough, now it's 8 years later, and that is happening.
Wow.
Alcohol companies are having massive sales declines, and they're scrambling to figure out how to fill that hole.
That's encouraging as a mama, just so you know. With kids that aren't there yet, I'm like, yes. Um, but going the VC route is very challenging. How long did it take you, and what did you do when there were obviously there had to be some no's? How did
Of
you
course, yeah.
overcome that?
Yeah, so I raised money in my last business, so I've done it before. Something I guess what I'm going to just do is try to talk about how I think about fundraising and investors. I mean, so at the end of the day, an investor is a customer, right? They're a
Mm,
customer that has to spend a lot more money than a regular customer. Instead of buying one 4-pack of Kin, they have to give us half a
mm,
million dollars, which we can't even deliver on how much Kin that is. So, they're a customer because they have to believe themselves, and especially in
mm,
CPG, ultimately you have to think about what that person wants. That person wants to go home, they want to tell their partner, they want to tell someone like, hey, I just invested in this really cool product that you're going to love, right?
mm.
That's just CPG investing 101. Like I
Yeah.
we talked to SaaS investors, software
Hmm.
investors early on, and they loved investing in CPG because they would tell us they would go, hit the slopes with all their buddies. None of them cared about the multi-billion-dollar exit SaaS investments they made. They wanted to talk about the popcorn company they just invested in, right? So when you're thinking about what you're selling to investors, you have to realize, if you're a certain product or brand or category like software or enterprise, that's not going to be necessarily a sexy story. So what you are selling them is pure, just like margin and cash and everything like that.
Mm,
When you're selling a product, you are selling a dream that they
mm.
themselves need to see themselves as part of. They want to tell people about it.
Yeah.
So yes, when we raised money, there was plenty of no's. But ultimately, you know, when they talked to us, they could see that we were confident and we were competent and that we had a
Mm,
plan and a vision that they could get excited about. And, we got, it was hard to get the first check is the hardest check,
mm,
obviously. But once you get that first check, things start to snowball. And that's what happened with us. It took us probably 3 or 4 months of talking to a lot of different types of people about it before we got that first check in the door. But then once we got that, things started to move actually quite quickly. So
yeah.
you kind of just got to tough it out until you get to that part. But the last thing I'll say, an investor, I know I'm saying a lot here, but the last thing I'll
No, I
say is
love it.
you have to realize that when you're fundraising, that's all you're doing. And that's a very difficult thing because you
Mm,
need to be running a business. And running a business is creating a product and talking to your customer. Like that's ultimately what a business is. So when you're fundraising, you're not doing that because you have to spend so much time and
mm.
energy and focus on meetings and diligence and answering questions and all this other stuff that isn't selling your product. Like going and answering, going to a, investor partner meeting sounds really great, but you remember that means you're not selling to your customer who's actually the one that's supporting your business for the long run.
So then how do you put that on hold? Like you're selling, like you said, a dream and you don't even have a product to show, or you do maybe have samples, maybe you
Something.
had
Yeah.
sample,
Yeah. Something.
but um how do you do that and
Yeah.
manage that really where you are torn?
So the first business I did, we didn't, first business we focused on selling to customers first. Then we did
Mm,
that first and we built our customer base. It was a bit easier on the second time for me to raise money just because I had done it already.
yeah,
Since I could go into the room and be like, look, I built this
experience.
business over here. I have experience.
Yeah.
Help me out over here. So, but what I do regardless every time is I put 3 months. I just say fundraising is now 3 months long. We're starting here. We're going to focus for these 3 months and then it's over. And if
Mhm.
we raise money, we raise money. If we don't raise money, we have to get back to work because ultimately the investor market is a feedback loop of, and they're ultimately
Mm.
checking, do you have enough customers? Do you have enough validation? Validation can be experience, for instance. So if you spend those 3 months and you don't get anything, don't take it personally because all it's saying is you just don't have the customer validation yet.
Mm.
So go back to work, get that customer validation, and then when you have improved it, when you've grown the business,
Yeah.
go back to market. But you can't be doing both, is what I'm trying to say. You actually can't
Yeah.
be trying to validate customer and grow while you're raising money.
That's really, really good advice and perspective, I think, for our listeners to hear of if you're not getting it after 3 or 4 months, go tweak it, go make it better.
Yeah. Focus, just focus. Because, if you're
Yeah.
trying to do both at the same time, what I see so many people get drawn into is they end up drawing out this fundraising process 9, 12, 18
Mm.
months while they're
Yes.
also trying to work on their business. And then the customer isn't getting a good experience and they don't care anymore. And then investors don't care. And what you end up doing is you're splitting this attention and you get nothing.
Yeah.
So
It's
you don't
true.
want that.
Don't want that. Okay. So you're 5 years in. It's obviously more than just you and Jen now. Tell us a little bit about your team and how you run the business.
Yeah, so we run super light. You know, we don't do any of our own manufacturing. We work with the co-manufacturer. We don't have any warehouses. We work with 3PLs. Our website is hosted on Shopify, so we don't need a developer.
That's
Um,
amazing.
right? I mean, setting up a business in 2025,
Yeah.
especially with AI, like if I was doing it today, I would maybe hire two people
Yeah.
and
Isn't that
scale it.
crazy?
It's
Yeah.
insane. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
showed our marketing. I heard our marketing like, "Hey, look, this is ChatGPT. Let's put in some concepts for marketing," and like it generated 20 brand briefs. Just boop, and like there you go. Like
There
your
you
work is
go.
done for the week. The
True.
result of that does mean there is like now a race. Like you have to be the expected throughput of any person, individual, or business right now has like 10x or 100x. Because just like any new tool, it's
Mhm.
not like, oh, it makes things easier so you can spend time doing something else. That's like sort of what people
Mhm.
wish was true, if that makes any sense. The reality is that you're going to be expected to still work your 8 hours a day. You're just expected now to do 10 times more in those 8 hours because you have this tool that can help you make things happen. So when we're our business right now, we're 7 full-time employees, and we work with 3 other contractors on, um, design and direct marketing and things like that. But those 7 people are core to making sure the trucks are on the road, making sure our marketing strategy is fine-tuned and ready to go, and keeping our sales accounts
Mhm.
managed and growing.
Yeah. It's incredible that you can run such a company because of tools like that with a lean team, like 7 people and
Yeah.
contractors. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing.
So and you don't have to give specifics, but as far as growth
Yeah.
financially, how have you grown the company?
Yeah, so the first 2 years was all e-commerce, and we were doubling
Mhm.
revenue every year for the first 3 years. Then in 2021, when the privacy rules changed
Mhm.
around Apple and Facebook, everything changed for us too, and every other CPG company. And this turned out to be the Armageddon for CPG in 21,
Mhm.
22. And we survived it. We're happy we did because we shifted focus and we kind of saw the writing on the wall. We also developed our brand as a physical experience. So online is great, but honestly, like we dominate when we're sitting on the shelf next to our competitor.
Mm,
We're so beautiful. Um, so we had to start switching over to more retail wholesale focus in 2020
hmm
to 2023. And so we've been focusing growth there, and we've been doubling that business every year since then. So we aim to try to double every year. We think that's a sustainable growth metric. Um, and we did that for the first 3 years for e-commerce. Then that flatlined thanks to changes, and then
hmm
starting our retail business, focusing on that. We've been doubling that since then.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
When you think about where it's already been, where do you see it going in the future? Like say 3 to 5
Yeah.
years, where do you want the company to be?
Yeah, I mean, we're only in 4,000 doors today. Um, we're in Target, Sprouts, and HEB, but
Mhm.
we just launched in Walmart, in 100 stores in Walmart just 2 weeks
Awesome.
ago. So Walmart is an amazing brand. It's an amazing business. I'd love to
hmm
focus on getting into more doors there. We're not in Whole Foods. Whole Foods is a huge opportunity for us. So from a distribution standpoint, I see a few more opportunities there, but I also see us, you know, penetrating deeper inside the store. One thing that makes us truly unique is that we're not just a non-alc. We're also not just a healthy soda or functional health drink. We're both. So,
mm
a non-alc beer can't sit next to Ollie Pop or Poppy. Um,
Mm.
and Ollie Pop or Poppy won't sit at the bar, right? So, but we can hit all three. So we can be in that healthy living section, we can be in that non-alc section, and we can be at the bar, right? Like we can have bartenders pouring us up. So our biggest opportunity then is to tell that story to people, to show them,
Mhm.
hey, yeah, this is a non-alc, but it's also functional. It's also a health drink,
Mm.
right? It's something that's going to make you live longer and feel better.
Is it
So
is it currently at bars? Could I go sit at a bar and say, "Hey, I want a drink with Ken"?
there's some in New York that certainly carry it right now,
That's
but
amazing. Well, that's where it begins.
that's where we started. Yeah. And that's how we started in 2019, 2020. A big part of our sales strategy was doing at the bar. It is extremely expensive to do it. It
Mm.
just like the nature of distribution to bars and
Mm.
restaurants is like it's a whole
Mhm.
nother animal. We got to stay focused. But if we're talking about a 3 to 5 year timeline, yeah, I mean, I want to see us in the healthy living section, the non-alc section, the
Mhm.
sitting at the bar, people pouring it up, realizing that Kin is just a drink for all occasions,
Yeah.
um, and
Do you,
and just yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, do you foresee, are you already planning for what the roadblocks would be that you need to knock down?
We're not even there yet, thankfully.
Yeah.
Our roadblocks right now are called 1 foot hurdles. It's picking up the
That's
phone
awesome.
and
Yeah.
dialing for deals, and that's all we need to be doing right now.
Yeah.
Um, the if I'm trying to guess like what those big hurdles are going to be, competition is going to get bigger and bigger. Just the
hmm
nature, we just talked about how you can start a whole company right now with 3 people and some AI tools. So someone's out there thinking about it, and we know that's coming.
Yeah, I love that. Before we get into some fun rapid fire questions, I
Yeah.
really like to share just when you think about where you've been and where you're going, what brings you the most joy and keeps you passionate about can you
Oh yeah. I mean, we've changed people's lives, right?
mm,
So how many how many brands out there can tell stories about mothers reconnecting with their daughters after 20 years of not talking to them? You know,
oh
how many people can? My sister actually discovered that she had a problem with alcohol that she addressed, and she thanks
mm,
Kin for making that possible. So, while it's super fun to talk about sales and all these other things, at the end of the day, what lights us up is getting people into our kinship, right? Bringing
yeah,
people into what we consider this movement that will ultimately um, last forever. The
yeah,
way that people have joined the Coca-Cola movement or people have
yeah.
joined the craft beer movement. We see Kin
hmm
as another one that we want people to feel a part of and to get the
hmm
benefit out of.
I like the kinship movement. That's really cool. We didn't
Exactly.
touch on marketing, so really quickly, just what has been your best marketing strategy to get the word out?
Just connecting to customers, honestly.
Yeah.
Just that's the nature of our business is, we're not about telling people how to feel.
Mhm.
We're about asking them. So our best foot forward is when we're connecting on that true level and to
Yeah.
to work with our community.
Yeah. It's awesome. All right. Well, I would love to hear more because I think this is
Yeah.
cool. And I'm going to go buy some right after this for sure. But for
Good.
right now, I'm ready to have some fun and get into some
Yeah,
rapid fire questions. What do you say?
for sure. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What would you say is the key to success for you?
Humility.
Mm, I like that. What advice would you give to other business owners?
Follow your own path.
You have for sure.
It's
All
the
right.
only thing
Book or
that works.
pod. Yeah. Book or podcast. What are you reading or listening to right now?
Oh, I am reading Mastery by Robert Greene.
Okay.
Um,
I've heard of that.
it's a great book. It's really fun to talk about how to become a master in something.
Mm,
It's an easy read, and but it's full of. I love it because it's full of fun historical anecdotes.
yeah. That's awesome. Okay. I'm gonna go look that up. All right. This is a fun one. If you had a little bit of magic dust and could sprinkle it anywhere in your business, where would you sprinkle
The product,
it? How
make it better.
so?
Oh,
Mm.
I would just, I would make it taste better. I would make it feel better. I would do anything to make it perfect.
Yeah, I love that. Well, before we get to the final question of the day, share with everyone how they can follow you, purchase your product, all the things.
Yeah, look, follow Kin. We're Kin Euphorics on Instagram. Follow my co-founder, Jen of Kin. She's very active in posting there. And, go ahead and buy from our website at kineuphorics.com.
Awesome. All right, final question of the day, which I love so much, and that's
Yeah.
what's inspiring you today, Matt?
Oh, wow. My kids.
Oh, how old are your kids? Can we ask?
Yeah, 4 and 2.
Oh, you're in the sweet
Light me up every
stage.
day.
That's amazing. I love that so much. Well, this has been such a great show. Thank you so much for just
Thank you.
sharing the story. I know there was a lot of benefit to our audience of just hearing the how you overcame and got to where you are today, even as a CPG product and places like Target. So cool and amazing. So I just want to encourage everyone that's watching to be sure to save this show because Matt really did have some great words of wisdom. And of course, we want you to like and subscribe so that you get a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. But thanks to everyone for joining us today. But a special thank you to you, Matt. It was awesome. Thanks for being my guest.
Thank you, Heather. I really appreciated it. Yeah, it was so much fun.
You're welcome. Until next time. Bye bye.